For me being autistic, I get called selfish a lot. I mean, actually, it's very hard for me to keep friends because of this. It's hard for me to maintain friendships because of this. Because it seems like I only care about myself. It's hard for me to put myself in other people's shoes.
So all autism is a different language. Some people speak Spanish, some people speak French, Italian, Japanese. There are all these different languages, and autism is a different way to communicate with the world. So if you're neurotypical, you communicate with the world in a certain way. If you're autistic, the way that you communicate is likely different. One way isn't wrong and the other way isn't right, but it is different. So it's important to understand those differences and respect them. So especially for the people who are not diagnosed with autism, but they are autistic, what you'll find out is that your friends may think that you're selfish. It may look like you only care about yourself. But when you're autistic, a large part of your life revolves around needing help from other people. So that drive for autonomy, when it comes out, when you express it, it can look like you're selfish, but you just are looking for a way to survive. That's all.
Come on, White, what are you doing, White? Don't you feel it? It's hot.
I don't feel
Okay,
hot.
it's hot though, okay? Look at your arms, they're all red.
Mom,
Temperature
check
on.
the temperature.
Okay, that's fine, but if you see steam, it means it's too hot.
When you're autistic, you realize that one of the more difficult things in life is having to rely on other people for things that neurotypicals can do on their own without any issue. The child here didn't have his mom around, so he was in the shower and the water was just way too hot. And he started to hit himself because he was frustrated. This clip is from a movie called Ezra, and this is a realistic picture of how a lot of autistic kids go through their day-to-day lives. This movie made me very emotional, and I was so happy because now here in Hollywood, we're starting to talk about these neurodivergent stories, and it's going to bring a lot of pride and joy and confidence to a community that I care very much. Why are hugs such a big deal for autistic individuals? You have to understand that when you're autistic, a big portion of your life revolves around needing help from other people. So being able to tell somebody that you like being touched or that you don't like being touched is a way for you to exercise your autonomy. I love this clip and I love this movie. I had a chance to see it early. And this is one of the few movies that I've seen that talks about autism in a realistic way. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm saying this. I hope you all go out and see it. The movie is called Ezra. It's going to be in theaters May 31st. The website is here for you to purchase tickets. Keep going.
I'm home now.
No bananas! Excuse me. Okay.
A common misconception that a lot of people have is that autistic kids are very aggressive. Now, you can see aggression within autism spectrum disorder, whether it's kids or in adults. But in my experience, the overwhelming majority of the aggression that is seen within autism is stemming from an inability to communicate your needs. And I often tell people, what would happen if you put duct tape over your mouth and for 24 hours you couldn't talk? You become irritable, you become frustrated, and aggression is sometimes inevitable. This clip is from a movie called Ezra, and it does such a wonderful job of talking about the realistic struggles of living with autism and also the beautiful parts about it. It's out in theaters May 31st. I can't wait for you to see it.
I need plastic. Mom has plastic.
Okay, well, Mom's not here. Ezra, where you going? Ezra!
I need plastic. You don't
guys.
listen to me.
Why do a lot of autistic kids have what I like to call mealtime meltdowns? This can happen for a variety of reasons. And as you can see in this clip, the child did not want to use a standard silverware. He wanted to use a plastic spoon. This could be because he doesn't like the way that the metal feels in his mouth, or maybe it's the sound of the metal, grinding against the teeth, or maybe just hearing other people chew with a metal spoon could irritate him. Either way, these sensory difficulties can lead to big sensory meltdowns, and it's important to allow kids to feel autonomous and for them to have what they need in these situations. This clip is from a movie called Ezra. It'll be out in theaters May 31st. It's a wonderful neurodivergent film, and I can't wait for you to watch it and come back and discuss.
Could I interest you in everything all of the time? A little bit.
One of the best things that you can do for the autistic women in your life is to give them a safe space to where they can talk about any and everything. Now, you may not want to hear about their special interests. You may not care about F1 racing, history of ancient civilization, Taylor Swift, or whatever the case may be. But what you're doing is you're allowing them to be themselves, because a lot of autistic women are diagnosed later in life because they do this thing called masking. They look at the world around them and they figure out what they have to do in order to be accepted. So when they can talk about the things that they want to talk about and still be accepted, that's a pretty cool thing.
Left, right, like this. Sign this, switch to the flow. By the way, I ain't write this. I'm the 18 that's they meet you my lightness.
I think of you all the time.
If you have ADHD like me, it's probably a good chance that you struggle to get to sleep at night. Whether it's because you're having racing thoughts or you just can't get comfortable in the bed. It can be a chore to get to bed, to get to sleep on time. So keep in mind that if you sleep in an awkward position, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you can sleep with your hand behind your back. You can do a stanky leg with your feet. It's all good. But just make sure you get some circulation to your extremities. Because when you don't, that's how you wake up with that feeling where you have the numbness and tingling in your fingers and your hands. And that's not any fun.
Left, right, like this. Sign this, switch to the flow. By the way, I ain't write this. I'm the 18 that's they meet you my lightness.
I'll talk about not suffering in silence, but as someone who articulates and articulates well, suffering out loud hasn't really been any better, which is why there's so much stuff that I never stopped dealing with. I just stopped discussing.
All right, so I have no idea if the lady in this video is neurodivergent, but what she's talking about here, this is a common neurodivergent experience. So you can't see ADHD or autism or dyslexia. You can't see these conditions. So, you know, you can say that they're silent. And when people verbalize what they're struggling with, a lot of times the outside world, they don't seem to care. You know, a lot of people don't believe that, you know, their kids or their partners are autistic or have ADHD. They just think that people are faking it. And instead of pulling back, I urge you to talk about these things, but to find a community of like-minded individuals who care about you, so that way you can feel like a human being and you can feel like somebody who's worthy of love, attention, and respect.
Left, right, like this. Sign this, switch to the flow. By the way, I ain't write this. I'm the 18 that's they meet you my lightness.
If you have ADHD, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but just to let you know, neurotypical people don't have to use any brain power to do things like shower, wash their face, brush their teeth. It happens.
All right, let's talk about ADHD and getting things done and why it takes so much brain power. You have to keep in mind that when you have ADHD, the delay in between tasks is longer than that of a neurotypical person. So if a neurotypical person has to do laundry, shower, and go for a workout, they may go back to back to back consecutively and knock out all three things in maybe 2 hours. If you have ADHD, those same three things could take you 5 hours or even 2 weeks. Who knows? Because the delay in between these tasks is longer when you have ADHD. And also you could get distracted. ADHD paralysis could hit you out of nowhere. So the point of this video is to say that if you have ADHD, just be kinder to yourself because you're probably doing the best that you can.
Left, right, like this. Sign this, switch to the flow. By the way, I ain't write this. I'm the 18 that's they meet you my lightness.
How many types of autism are there? Do we have a type where you're obsessed with trains? And is there another type where you have a strong sense of justice? And is there a whole other type where you get hyperfixated on rocks? So these are all questions that I get, commonly. And they're not dumb questions because you have to understand, like I always say, autism is just a different way of communicating with the world. And it's a spectrum, like most mental health conditions. So, on one end of the spectrum, you could be one of those individuals who needs a lot of support. On the other end, you might be somebody who needs just a little bit of support. So, there's different types of autism. You cannot assume that two autistic people look the same, but it's a condition where you communicate with the world in a different way. And it doesn't mean that anything is wrong with you. It just means that you communicate differently. That's it.